Hi everybody, my name is Doug and I'm offering a review of the LG Extravert, which is one of Verizon's basic phones. I've had this phone for more than a year now, so I've been through most of its offerings, its capabilities, and yes, its shortcomings. I've only decided to do a review of it now though, because about a month ago I added a data and text package to it, so I feel like I'm fully rounded in what the phone is all about. So I'm going to do my best to be objective while still talking about my personal experiences with it, and I'm giving it 3 grades: a B- as a basic phone without data, a B- as a basic phone without data but with texting, and an F as a basic phone with data, and I hope this review spells out why. First off, a word of warning. This review is going to be kind of long, but I really want to break down everything about it so you know what it's about and whether it's the right phone for you. As you know, once you enter into a phone plan, you've got that phone for a long time, and you really need to really make a smart choice here. I chose the Extravert in December of 2011, a few months after my contract with my LG NV3 ran out. This is kind of the next step up from that phone, and the phone itself is an updated version of the LG Cosmos Touch. So let's start with an analysis of the Extravert from a non-data, non-texting plan point of view, and again, I give this a B-. First, the battery life. It holds a charge very well when just using the phone without data or text activities. I'm on the phone maybe 15-20 minutes each day for voice, and I use the calendar and notepad functions a lot. And based on that, after a day and a half of starting on a full charge, I'll be down to the 3rd line of the 4 battery lines. This is remarkable, considering I live in a home where cell phone reception isn't always great. There's only one color option of the phone body. It is black with a red little trim kind of thing, and as you see when you slide it up, it's red on the back. So I hope you like red. Otherwise, there are snap-on protectors that you can use for the phone, and you're advised to get one because the back here is kind of slick, and it can easily slip out of your hand without a snap-on case. Fortunately, you can find protectors for sale via certain online auction sites. I have a nice slip grip one that was only $2, and it's held up pretty well over the past year. Then there's the touch screen. Now this is a resistive touch screen, meaning you can't just glide your finger across it with ease like you would with a smartphone screen, an iPod or an iPad. Instead, you have to kind of drag it with some friction, and this takes a lot of getting used to. Some of you might not like it at all. I know I had some initial gripes about it, and sometimes you have to push things a few times for it to respond, and it's very aggravating. You'll know it is responding, though, when the phone makes a slight vibration to what it's doing via the touch screen, but that can get just as annoying. I sometimes use a stylus pen like this one here for some things, and it wouldn't hurt for you to get one too if you get this phone. Now, the way the phone works is it locks, and you have to swipe your finger across the bottom to be able to use it, like this. But if you just slide the phone up, like this, it also turns on. You don't have to hit anything. And the slide up is smooth. See, it locks in place with ease. And also, you can set the phone to open with your 4-digit passcode, which is usually the last 4 digits of your cell phone number. As well as, besides just swiping it down below here, you have options where you can take the screen, make it so you can go upwards like this in a diagonal form, or you can go like this. Now, going to the front, the bottom buttons are, from left, the call button, the go back and mic button, and the hang up and power off button. The phone allows you to do voice commands for calling by hitting the middle button, as well as to make voice notes. The sound quality of the voice notes is a bit muffled, and I wouldn't recommend using it if you're doing, say, an hour-long interview with somebody. You'll see on the top of the screen that next to the earpiece right here, you'll see it really close up. Right over here are 2 little buttons. This is a heat sensor, and this makes the screen go off when you're on a call and holding it to your face, and this way you won't accidentally hit a button while you're talking. And then when you move your face away, the screen comes back. This is very nice. Not a lot of phones I know do that. smartphones even, let alone basic phones. Speaking of making calls, the reception on this has been nothing short of perfect for me. And really, isn't the phone function the reason for getting a cell phone in the first place? So in terms of calling people and them hearing you and you hearing them, and drop calls only happening when you can't get a signal depending on where you are, this is a fine phone. And to make a call, you just push this button right here. You enter everything in there. There's a contacts button here, and recent calls, both going in and going out. You can do voice dial, and you can put the speakerphone on. On the side here is a volume rocker to go up, volume, down, volume, along with a micro USB port for charging and for hooking up to your computer for dragging and dropping photos, videos, and MP3s. On the top is a rest button, and it turns the screen on and off, but it does not shut the phone down. That's what the front button right here is for. And there's a 3.5mm headphone jack, so you can plug in your headphones to listen to MP3s, but as I'll tell you later on, listening to MP3s on this is not something I recommend. The speakerphone is on the back right here, and it works just fine, nice clear sound. That is so long as you don't obstruct the speaker with your hand. I'd have liked it more if the speaker were on the bottom over here, because some of us have the phone propped up in the car on one of those suction holders, and the sound can be compromised that way. Not to mention, if you put your hand like this, you're covering that, and it mutes it. So you kind of have to hold it like this and whatnot, and then we get back to the whole slipping here if you don't have a slip grip thing. The camera is 2 megapixels, which seems light years away from the 8 megapixel plus offerings on smartphones, and you'll see there's no LED flash, so you're pretty much confined to well-lit environments, primarily the outdoors, for any photos to come out good. Otherwise you'll get a motion blur, and like most camera phones, the virtual shutter always lags. So you're more prone to motion blur. Fortunately, it does have a dedicated shutter button on the side of the phone, which makes it easier for taking the picture instead of holding the phone in one of those, ergonomically unsettling kind of ways kind of thing, where you're doing like this and you push the screen and whatnot. It's better that way. And when you push the button, it takes you right into camera mode, as you can see right there. You can edit photos on the phone, such as making them black and white, adding frames and icons and things like that. The video quality, and you can toggle back and forth onto video and camera, the video quality is not high def whatsoever, and footage can be a bit pixelated and choppy, but in a pinch it's always good to have video capability on you rather than not. You never know when you're going to need it, right? The Extravert has less than 100 megabytes of internal memory, but it does take a micro SD card up to 32 gigabytes, and it goes in the back hatch with the battery. It's below the battery here. And you can assign whether to have your photos, videos, and MP3s on the card. And with the memory prices being so low these days, it shouldn't even be an either-or decision, right? For your contacts, you can put a photo on each one, much like you can with other phones, and you can set the QWERTY's keyboard numbers up so that you can make shortcuts for contacts by assigning a number for each one. Like here, when I push 2, I get my home. Now, I'm not going to show you how the contacts page looks here, only because I'd like to protect my contacts identification, of course. But I should note that there is a special section on the contacts page for in case of emergency numbers, something that's always good to have. Let's go into the tools section here, and you see there's all these icons for Bluetooth on and off, your calendar, your music, a media center, alarm clock, apps, going to my Verizon, pictures and video, settings, and messaging. Let's go into the tools here, and you'll see it's got some really good things here. A notepad, calendar, an alarm clock, a stopwatch, a world clock, calculator, easy tip calculator, and even an eco calculator where you can figure out how many pounds of CO2 are decreased when you're walking or cycling. One of the things I really like is the alarm clock feature. Let's go to it. You can allow for more than one alarm to be set. Not a lot of basic phones have this. This is one of the advantages of getting this. I also use the notepad quite often because you never know when you need to think of something at the grocery store and you need to write it down. So you can just go in here and make a brand new one. The only thing is you can only go up to 300 characters per note. So before you start waxing poetic, you got to make sure you know this and see the numbers as they go down as you type. The calendar here is great. And with the QWERTY keyboard, you can easily set appointment dates with reminders to go off. Like today, I've got, for an example, dropping my children off at my mom's house, and you can set it with, an alert to go off 24 hours in advance, an hour in advance, whatever, with sounds that are in here. Speaking of the QWERTY keyboard, you'll see that it's a 4-row system with symbols that can be found like the pound symbol, the slash, single and double quotes, and the .com, where is it? Right there. Even the upside down question mark and exclamation point. The keys themselves take some getting used to. They're raised but only slightly, and they're not as high as, say, the BlackBerry keys. People with bigger fingers might not like the feel of them. You kind of have to take your time with typing things out here. I like the fact that there are shortcut keys such as vibrate on and off, speakerphone on and off, and where's the speakerphone? Yeah, right there. And if you hit the space bar, it'll take you to the social media wall right here, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So you can post to Facebook statuses on photos, you can send out tweets and whatnot. Also, for many of the functions, you can use this 4-arrow system right here instead of the touch screen, and this comes in handy at times. For example, if I wanted to go into the tools and I didn't want to do the dragging touch here, I can just push this and it'll go down like that. It's good for getting around. It's handy at times. Another cool thing about the phone is that you can set the keyboard for one of 3 ways. To have it so that you can find a contact simply by hitting the first letter of the contact and it'll take you to him or her. You can also have it so you can start a note just by hitting the T. It'll start a note starting with T. Or you can have it so you can start a text message. The screen has 3 panels here, a main panel, and I really like that you can customize it with the tools, the contacts, and settings, shortcuts that you use most frequently. Here you can see I've got a Bluetooth shortcut, I've got the calendar, I've got the notepad, and I've also got my music, and a desktop pattern. Here you can see my son pretending to mow the grass. Over to the right, if you slide it, you've got the messaging panel. To the left, you've got the messaging panel, which has the social media wall and the texting where you can do an email to somebody, or Facebook, Twitter, and MySpace. And then over to the right, you've got a favorites part where you can put favorite pictures, videos, MP3s, and whatnot. And this is another plus in my book because you need not scroll through a big list of photos to show somebody a favorite photo or two. Going back to the main panel, you've got a gray strip here, and this indicates an alarm being set, whether your phone is in vibrate mode, whether you had missed calls, new voicemails, new text or emails. And if you push this gray bar, it'll show you what's going on. It's in vibrate only mode right here, no new messages. I do have a voicemail message and a calendar event, and if you click, say, calendar event, it'll take you to the calendar, show you that there's an event, click on that, and it'll show you that. It's a feature that's not too shabby for a basic phone, I gotta say. The Bluetooth works pretty good with headsets, with crystal clear sounds if you get one of the newer headsets. However, I have heard that the Bluetooth function is problematic with Bluetooth car systems. And I've read other reviews saying that the phone doesn't automatically connect, but rather you have to manually add the phone to the car every time. I don't have a Bluetooth-capable car, so I can't confirm what the other reviews say. If you do have such a car, I'd caution that you ask somebody at Verizon or LG as to whether this is true. Now on to the one thing about the Extravert that I fully detest, and then no other review has really addressed this, and that's the MP3 player. In short, it is awful. In all fairness, it's not supposed to be an iPad, an iPod, but honestly, it makes the early MP3 players by Rio and Creative Zen look rather contemporary. First off, if you transfer your MP3 files in here from your computer, it's not always guaranteed that the tagging information will show up, you know, the artist, song, and album name. Same goes for the album artwork. Now, you can make playlists, but you can only do it on the phone itself. There's not a program you can use on your computer to sync a playlist to this. And to add to songs onto a playlist using the phone can be a pain. It really is too much work. You got to scroll through everything, hit yes, no, and if you mess it up, it's hard to get things off. Here's the worst part. You cannot multitask with the MP3 player. And by that I mean you can't do texting or web browsing while the MP3 player is on. Here's an example. Let's go to my albums here. See, there's the instance there. I hit this and I felt it vibrate, but it still did not, recognize this in the touch screen. Let's go to one of my records here. So I'm going to put on this song. Now, if I want to exit out of this and do something on text, I'll hit this button so it goes to the main screen, and there you go. It turns off. And this can be a pain because you want to be able to multitask, and it's one of the things I liked about the NV3. You could do that. The player also does not go back to where you were before. If you were playing, say, a podcast on the phone, it doesn't bookmark. A podcast can be up to 2 hours long, and it's aggravating when you have to turn it off and you don't know where you left off, and not having a bookmark function, really, again, it's maddening. And once you do decide to go back to that podcast or the song, queuing it to the point where you left off is just difficult. Using a stylus even to try to get there, here, let's try this and I'll show you. So if I want to go, I got to try to drag it using my finger. And you don't get really to the point you want to go to. So let's just get out of that. My advice is don't use the MP3 player here. Get an iPod instead to supplement the phone. Okay, maybe keep a few songs on the phone for when you're passing time at the doctor's office and you need something to entertain you in a pinch, but really don't use it for much more than that. Now onto the texting option, which retains my overall B- grade. The Extravert is pretty much made for people who text. I don't have texting anymore because I had to give it up when my wife and I canceled our short-lived shared data plan with Verizon, and unlimited texting came with the plan. But I did have a great time with texting, and I was able to send and receive everything just fine, even pictures. There is a favorites menu, so you can add the contacts you regularly text to it, which is nice. And to text, you can just go into here, enter your name, the name of somebody or your email address, add the text, and you have up to 160 characters to do that. And then you just send it out. Let's go back. I should note that with texting, you have to erase messages fairly regularly. It can eat up your internal data if you keep them for a long time, and to remove each one takes about 5 or 6 seconds per message, so that can be a bit of a pain. Of course, the battery life will be shorter if you're a frequent texter, but for me, it didn't dwindle to an unreasonable level. Again, B- on there. But let's go to the data now, which gets an F from me. First, a reminder. The Extravert is not a smartphone, and you should know that this phone does not have 3G or Wi-Fi capability. Rather, it has the 1X system. Let's see if we can get close into there. And this is where you'll see all the battery, not the battery lines. Here's the battery right there. You'll see where the reception marks there. But the 1X system is very, very slow. The VG Navigator feature, which is Verizon's GPS, cannot be used on this phone, though given the speed of the 1X system, I'm kind of not surprised. The biggest beef I have with the data on this phone is that once I got the data plan, the battery completely drained after a 24-hour period, and I didn't even use it for text or data that day. In fact, I only made one phone call, and it was about 3 minutes long. This never happened when it was a non-data when I didn't have data on this. And that's a shame, because based on my experiences, that really makes the phone unreliable. So I had to cancel the data plan, and apologies for the next segment because I can't show you anything about the web browser, because if I open it, Verizon's going to charge me for it as I don't have the data plan. So I'll do my best to explain it. I found the web browsing via the Opera mini browser to be very limited, and if a site doesn't have a mobile page, I found myself waiting quite a while for the data to load. That began eating up at my data plan limit. Also, using the touchscreen for web movement and links is problematic. The links can be small, and you might not even hit it right, even with a stylus. The best bet is to use the 4 arrow keys for a more accurate hit, but that can be irritating because it takes a while for the cursor to land on the link you want, and if you go over too much or too under, far down, you got to go all the way back up and keep clicking, 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 clicking. The unfortunate upshot for the web is if you get a data plan for the Extravert, you really need to use the web browser sparingly. And I hate to say that, because the point of having web on your phone is to be able to use that. But without 3G, 4G, or Wi-Fi, as well as the battery drain, you're very limited. Let's go back to the social media wall here for a second. And again, you can access this by just hitting the space bar. The Twitter function is good, but not great. Let's go way down there. And that's because when you enter text into it, it will count down the number of characters you have left from 160, not 140, which is what Twitter has as the maximum character count. So you have to keep close watch, or your post is going to get cut off once you send it across. You also cannot send photos to Twitter. Let's go back to the social media wall. It has a Facebook status, wall, message, and photo entry option, but I wasn't able to send photos to Facebook this way, even though it offers that function. They never went through for some reason. And in addition, if you don't use MySpace, and really who does these days, it can't be deleted from the social media wall. Now, there is a Facebook standalone app you can download from Verizon's App Store, but it's faulty. Some links go through, others don't, and you can't scroll down as easily on it as you can with the mobile site. There isn't a standalone Twitter app for this phone, so you have to rely on the mobile site for that too, if you indeed get the web browser on this. The phone has an email portal, so you can receive your email through Gmail, Yahoo Mail, and other mail servers. I used Gmail on it for a very short while, but I just found it to be too clunky. Okay, to sum up everything, if you don't have or want a data plan, the Extravert is a reliable basic phone that has enough good features to get you by on everyday matters, such as the notepad, the calendar, and the calculator. The calls sound fine in both the earpiece and the speakerphone, but the speakerphone's location could be better. Say again on the bottom. The 4-row QWERTY keyboard is nice, though if you have big fingers, you might not like the small key size. On the downside, the resistive touchscreen takes a lot of getting used to and can cause some aggravation when you have to push things more than once for it to recognize and respond. The phone's slick backside can make you more prone to drop it if you don't have a snap-on protector. The camera and video on here are all just so-so, and the MP3 player is simply atrocious. For texting, this is an ideal phone, but you must be sure to clean out your old messages to avoid dwindling internal memory space. And finally, for data, the web browsing is limited. It's pretty much limited to the mobile-friendly pages. These are the ones that start with an M or have an M or mobile somewhere in the URL. The drastic battery drain I experienced when I got the data plan really turned me off, no pun intended, making the phone unreliable, and the email portal is too clunky. Now, if I were really picky, I'd say the fact that LG chose to spell Extravert E-X-T-R-A-V-E-R-T instead of its proper spelling of E-X-T-R-O-V-E-R-T is kind of hokey, but that's not something to raise a fuss over. Thus, taking the good and the bad, the Extravert gets a B- as a basic phone without data, a B- as a basic phone without data but with texting, and a solid F as a basic phone with data. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this, and good luck with what you choose as your next smartphone. Thanks.